Welcome into Conversations with Paul Brown. We are at Williamston Town Hall, and our guest is a member of Williamston Town Council and his son. And we're going to talk to the Burgess boys. In school, what were your interests?
Interest was actually in auto mechanics, anything mechanical or electronic. That was what I enjoyed doing. I took auto mechanics at the Career Center, and whenever I got out of high school, I went ahead and went straight into the military and pursued electronics there.
How important was that Career Center for you that District 1 provided?
It was extremely important. The Career Center, I was not that great in academics, but I'm a real hands-on kind of guy. So it provided an opportunity for me to be able to go off and pursue other things with a background and a little bit of basic to get that head start to go right into the military. Did very well with electronics there, and subsequently left there. When I got out, landed a job immediately with Metro Mobile back in the old bag phone days, which became Bell Atlantic Mobile, and so that's where I was before I left to go to the sheriff's office. 31 Fox was my first MOS, which is a network switching systems operator, which is basically the military's version of cellular. It's encrypted cellular. We have what they call remote access units, extension node switches to be able to route that telephone traffic and radio traffic in a secure way. So it was very interesting to me. My last job was actually Avenger missiles. Yeah, I kind of went all around the world in my military occupation. I had a Colonel Ellenberg. I don't know if you know Colonel Ellenberg from Anderson. He left the Signal Corps and went over to the Air Defense Artillery, and I went with him. So I completely changed up in my military career.
And then when you got out of active, you went to the reserve.
To the Guard. That's where I got the Stinger and Avenger.
And for those that may not know exactly what that is, give us an elementary overview.
Air Defense Artillery. Stinger is a shoulder-fired missile to shoot down hostile aircraft. The Avenger is a turret mounted onto a Humvee with multiple Stingers in. We even still have the Air Defense Artillery there in Anderson.
And it would be deployed if we ever got into a situation where we needed it.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, they were deployed to Washington, D.C. right after September 11th to protect our nation's capital.
Right. Yeah. At what point did you decide this is something I want to do myself and you start your own business?
Well, I went to work at the sheriff's office after Bell Atlantic. They merged with 9X, and I had the opportunity to go to work at the sheriff's office and pursue something else that I'd always interested me was law enforcement.
And who was the sheriff when you went out there?
That would have been Taylor, Gene Taylor.
Gene Taylor.
Major Vic Wooten hired me.
Okay.
And worked at the sheriff's office for many years. Went under Taylor, Skipper, and then Crenshaw. And my last duty assignment was at Wren Middle School as a resource officer there. And believe it or not, we had a lot of problems with buses and stuff like that getting stolen, and we're trying to figure out how to incorporate cameras, security cameras, when they were first coming out. And so the school district didn't have a lot of money for that type thing. So I made a deal with them. I said, look, you buy the cameras and I'll install them. So I got to installing cameras throughout the district, and then they would call me up, hey, we got a problem with our intercom. Can you work on this intercom system over here? So I'm in full military uniform, or full sheriff's office uniform.
As a resource officer?
As a resource officer, working on school intercoms, working on camera systems, pressure washing sidewalk, whatever I could do to stay busy. I interacted a lot with the kids and really did enjoy it. I realized that there was a lot of money that could be made in doing the electronics work, and so I branched out, started subcontracting out a little bit here and there. That's when I branched out and started AUTEC. And by the way, AUTEC actually stands for Austin Technology. Our only child I had at the time was Austin, so that's where Wendy actually came up with the name.
What does your company now specialize in?
Anything low voltage and large commercial and industrial applications. Our primary market is the K through 12 and college market. We do a lot of college campuses as well. But we do a lot of government facilities, everything from federal courthouses to local courthouses. We did the Anderson County Courthouse not long ago, put a mass notification system in there. So we do a lot of really high-end, very technical stuff. And I'm not the most technical guy, but I've got a lot of guys that work for me that do a really, really good job with that type of stuff.
Welcome back. Rocky, why don't you introduce us to your son, Austin?
I'd be happy to, Paul. Ladies and gentlemen and people of Anderson County, it's my son, William Austin Burgess. He prefers to be called Austin. He's a uprising senior at the Citadel. So he's home for a few days, and it's always a pleasure to talk to him.
Austin, tell me a little bit about growing up with Rocky, your dad, and Wendy, your mom. What was life in the Burgess household like when you were coming along?
Huge shoes to fill. I mean, we grew up living a pretty normal lifestyle. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a SRO for the better part of my life, and having a mom as a teacher was always really cool. You know, get to interact with some teachers and her teacher friends and get to know them. And going over to the middle school with Dad, get to interact with the middle schoolers as an elementary school kid is pretty cool. But getting to live in Williamston was a great opportunity. When Dad got elected to council, I got a lot of exposure, knocking doors, talking to people, kind of getting my foot wet a little bit into politics, trying to get a petition signed, riding around on a golf cart. It's probably 10 or 12 years old. But it was great. People in Williamston have always been good to me. It's like having another family, the whole town, really.
At what point in your career and talking to your folks did you decide that maybe you would try to go to the Citadel?
That conversation arose probably after I was Taylor Evans and Brooks DeVore and Brett Meese. Those are three guys who kind of talked to me and said, hey, you should go to the Citadel. And then my mom and some family friends were, hey, you should go to the Citadel. You enjoy this high school ROTC thing. What do you think about it? And I thought, yeah, no way. I'm going to Clemson. That'll be fun. I want to be an electrical engineer, and I'm going to go to Clemson.
Okay.
And Dad said, well, if you want to go to college and you want to figure out, not having to pay for it, you'll consider the Citadel because I'll have to pay for it. And I said, well, I'm sold. I'm going to the Citadel. It was that simple for me because I don't want to have to pay back student loans. Truth
Right.
be told. I mean,
what research did you do on the Citadel before you got down there? How much of the history and what was there about this school that you said, maybe I can make this work?
It was nothing like what I know now. I know a lot more now, obviously, after 3 years of it. But before I went to the Citadel, I did look. I looked it up online and found some stuff, and I thought it was interesting. I read The Lords of Discipline. Dad and I read that on together, and it kind of scared me a little bit.
Yeah.
Hearing a lot of the stuff that happened down at the Citadel, and I talked to a bunch of people who had graduated. Mike Whaley, he's a Citadel grad, class of '86. He's my biology teacher, and he really pushed me to go. He, gave me a lot of inspiration verbally, and he just kind of told me about it. So I did my research through mostly talking to other people, and of course I went and did the pre-knob experience. And
Now tell me about that our audience may not be aware of, the pre-knob.
Yeah, so the pre-knob is where you take a Thursday and a Friday, and you go down to the Citadel, and that Thursday is you spend a night there, and then you kind of get to experience what it's like to be at the Citadel from a third-party perspective. So you don't do any of the knob stuff or anything like that, but you get to watch it all happen. I saw this guy on a Friday afternoon at his lunchtime, and the knob I was assigned to went to this thing called the Citadel Republican Society, of all things. And I remember sitting back, and the speaker was Celeste Davis, Representative Celeste Davis, and she spoke about Republican values and conservative values. And then she got out of the way and said her son went to the Citadel, and kind of introduced us to a bunch of Citadel connections. And the guys who were up front were just talking about conservative values and what they believed in. And I thought, man, that's really me. I really fit in with this crowd of guys. I want to be one of these guys. I want to be like that guy right there.
You go down there as a freshman, as a knob. What was your first 6 weeks experience like?
Hell, yeah, they say it's hell week. It is. It's more like hell year. It's pretty awful. It's a different sort of hell than what it used to be, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All the old timers will say back in the old Corps,
Right.
but it's a huge culture shock. I mean, you go from being in high school and kind of being a little bit of an arrogant hotshot, and having mom and dad there and a cool truck and a girlfriend, to having nothing, nobody, no friends. You don't know anything, you don't know anybody, and anything you knew in high school need not apply because you're in college now and life's completely different. Your high school ROTC uniform, those standards no longer apply. Everything's completely upside down and changed, and you have to figure out how to adapt and overcome, and to deal with the bracing and to deal with getting yelled at and the push-ups and the PT and that sort of thing. And it's not as physical as it was mental for me. I prepared physically. Michael Gowan, he worked out with me. He kind of showed me, some workout techniques. We worked out a lot together, so I was prepared physically, but mentally, I had no idea what was coming.
Did you ever come to the point you say, I'm going home?
Absolutely, yeah.
And anybody that says they did probably isn't being completely honest.
Probably, I'll have to agree with that, especially those people who have served tours and confinements. Absolutely.
Now tell me what that is.
A tour is 1 hour walking back and forth with your rifle on the quad, and the quad is the center of what you would see as the barracks where we live, and it's the checkered floor, the red and white checkered floor. So you just walk back and forth for an hour, and that's one tour. And then the confinement, cons, is where you sit in a room and you just sit in a room for an hour. It's detention.
And how do you become qualified to do those kind of things? What kind of behavior puts you in those situations?
It can be a lot of things. The Citadel has one of the largest rule books. Actually, I think it's the largest rule book in all military college, including the academies. But you know, for a couple examples, alcohol, tobacco, gross poor judgment, which is pretty much a blanket coverage of if you do something wrong and you shouldn't be doing it, you're in trouble. Not shaven, no haircut, wrong uniform wear, ugly, disgusting room, tons of stuff. You can do anything.
How satisfying was it for you to finish that first year?
It was probably the most gratifying moment of my life. Yeah, that's probably, for me, that was one of the best crucibles I've ever been through, and like a hard thing, because even when you finish the first year, ending the first year is probably one of the harder parts of knob year. While it might look like a field day to those who are kind of standing around watching, it's more than that. It's mental, and we've been PT'd 2 or 3 times before that, and you're sore and you're tired, running on no sleep, and you get to do the rec day experience, and it's really incredible.
And that is what? Give me a little idea of what that was.
That's dumbbell presses, that's going out on the grass and doing some push-ups and crunches and sandbags and buddy carries and fireman carries and caterpillar crawls and you name it, we did it PT-wise. Log sit-ups where everybody holds the log and we do sit-ups together. And then at the end, you run a mile with the guys, and it's probably a 14-minute pace. It's probably slow as Christmas, but at that point, you're wearing your boots and you're soaking wet, you're tired and exhausted, and it feels like forever. You're just running for 5 miles and you're tired and sore, and it was pretty fun.
That's the end of the 4th class system. That's where they call it rec day. That's where you're recognized. You're no longer 4th class. You're actually recognized by your first name, so people know who your first name is, who you really are.
After 1 year of being something else.
Correct.
You've now finished your first year, you become a sophomore, and things are a little bit easier. At what point in the 3 years that you've been down there do you begin to assume some leadership responsibilities?
My first leadership responsibility was second semester, sophomore year, as I got moved up to a squad corporal, and I got to experience what it's like to be in charge of training a squadron of knobs, which is 7 to 8 knobs plus 1 or 2 upperclassmen who didn't quit the first 2 or 3 years they were there.
And you've got some girls that are part of your class.
We do have girls in our class.
And how has, I mean, you don't remember when there weren't girls there, because there in the past, 20 years there have been, but how does that work between the guys and the gals at the Citadel today?
Yeah, so Sierra Company, the company that I'm from, that I've lived in for my whole cadet career up to this point, we don't have any females left in my class. However, we have had a company commander, even battalion commander, who's a female, and they do incredible jobs. You know, they're just as physically capable. They're readily available to do their job and their task and their duty, just like any other person would. So I don't think gender has anything to do with their ability to take care of the job.
And what are you going to be doing next year that's significant for the Citadel as a leadership capacity?
Next year for the Citadel, I will be the Regimental Cadet Activities Officer, and I'll be handling cadet engagement, so what cadets are doing in day-to-day operations for the most part, and serving as an ex officio to the regimental commander, so bouncing his ideas on what's really good for the Corps, and then looking out for the greater good of the Corps.
And under you, there are now how many people at the Citadel that you kind of will be over?
I serve over the head of each battalion activities officer and the company activity officer. So 24 plus 5. So we're looking at 29 people who I'm directly affecting, and they will help me plan basically everything for the entire Corps.
What's going to be special about the senior year at the Citadel that seniors really enjoy doing and look forward to?
I think some big key points for me is going to be the ring ceremony, the Moultrie mile. Right when you get your rings, you go and you run a mile. You basically go out and drink, and then you go run a mile on Moultrie Street back to the Citadel. And they did away with it last year, but we hope they're going to let us do it this year. But that's a kind of a key thing that we look forward to. It's a huge tradition that they've done for years. And then the ring ceremony is when you get your ring and you get to wear it for the first time, and mom and dad get to come, say hey and see us and get to walk through the ring. And
once you earn and wear that ring, anywhere in the world you go, you've got a brother.
Absolutely. The Citadel, it's created an incredible bond to so many people, incredible people. And it goes beyond the classes, beyond the companies, beyond the people you actually know. If you walk into an office and you're being interviewed for a job and you have the Citadel ring on your finger and you happen to have it on your resume, they'll look and they'll see that and they'll say, hey, oh, you're from the Citadel. My grandfather went there, my brother went there, something like that. Everybody has a connection to the Citadel, and the Citadel upholds this high standard of honor, duty, and respect. And if you give a Citadel guy a task to do, it's going to get done and done with excellence.
Scale of A, B, C, D, E, F, what your time at the Citadel so far would be a what?
Oh, an absolute A. There's nothing that could replace it. I said it was miserable knob year, but we didn't get to cover the greater part, which is the end of knob year, sophomore year, junior year. I've had incredible leadership experience, opportunities. I've gotten to lead the Citadel Republican Society. I've gotten to bring in Mike Pence. I've met Mike Pence. I've talked on the phone with the president. Just incredible opportunities have been granted to me because of the Citadel and the Citadel Republican Society, and just having this opportunity to lead these guys, just absolutely incredible. And I could not think of a better place in the world or a better opportunity for me, because I went in wanting to be an engineer and go to Clemson, and I changed my life upside down. Now I want to go to law school. I want to pursue politics one day, maybe not as a candidate, but as somebody who runs campaigns, which is what I'm doing now for Push Digital. And I want to run campaigns and really get into politics. And the Citadel has just pushed me to be a better person as a whole, but also provided me with so many opportunities to learn about who I really am beyond a baseline level that you learn in high school.
Great. Well, thank you for representing Anderson County at such a high level. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Austin, thanks for your time. Rocky, thanks for your time. And invite all of you to be back with us next week, same time, for our next edition of Conversations with Paul Brown. Until then, take care, everybody.